Hugh, I got to tell you, yesterday I had some time to reflect, right? Because I think you said it yesterday. I had a whole crash out on the show yesterday.
Yeah, that was funny.
All right, I had a whole crash out yesterday. I got frustrated this week because it felt like everyone was trying to tell me the Eagles didn't actually lose that good of players and some coping and all that. So, yeah, but that's not today. I woke up today in a much more peaceful mood, Hugh Douglas. You know why?
Why?
Well, because I've come to grips with what's gone on here this week with the Eagles. I've come to reality with it. I've come to understand it, and I've come to accept that we're getting a reset year in 2025. I've come to accept the Eagles are bracing us, and I'm bracing myself for a reset year. So we'll get to everything they've done over the course of the show. But yesterday they brought a couple more players in, right? Harrison Bryant, the tight end, and Adoree Jackson, the corner. And all these players are fine. Some of them have some high upside. I would say Uche still has some upside. They're all NFL players, but obviously none of them are high level.
What you had.
Yeah, right. They're not what you had, and none of them were high-level free agents. Like when you looked at the list when the week started of the top free agents, none of these guys they brought in were there. It's fine. I have no problem with any of the signings or any of the players they brought individually, and one of them will probably be better than we think. But they didn't replace the guys they had with anything of super note. That's not what they did. I think we all could agree on that. So,
guys.
They're guys. They're guys. I am now bracing myself that they are resetting in 2025. They're getting their salary cap healthy. They're seeing what they have with the young guys. And that is likely going to lead to not as great of a football team. Now, am I saying they're going to win 5 or 6 or 7 games? Or as a caller said yesterday, 0? No. Come on, let's be real. They'll be good. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be competitive. But I am bracing myself that they're resetting to get this thing right for the next 3, 4, 5 years. I'm not expecting them to be as great. And Hugh, I've come to terms. I have peace now. No crashing out today. I have come to terms, and I am bracing myself for a reset year. Are you?
No. I'm bracing myself for a year of competitive football. I'm bracing myself for a year of getting into the playoffs and seeing what happens. Because that's basically what happened the year before. And the year before that, and the year before that. Because the Eagles lost, if I'm not mistaken, a year after they lost in the Super Bowl, they lost like 7 starters. Then they went to the playoffs the following year, even though, the defense wasn't as good as it was the year before. And they were in the playoffs. They got bounced in the first round, but they were in the playoffs. The third year is when it took off for them. So I'm expecting them, with the moves that they made thus far, to be exactly where they want to be, and that's in the playoffs, and see what happens.
So I think you and I might view reset differently. They still think they're a playoff team. I don't think they've fallen that far. But 2023, that was a reset. They fell to 30th in defense. They had to figure out which young guys they believed in, which young guys they didn't, and they decided on, obviously, Reed they wanted to keep around, and he was a young guy. Jalen Carter they just drafted. Nolan Smith they just drafted. They still waited on, hoped on Nakobe. They figured out who they had and who they didn't, and then they added. But this, to me, reminds me more of 2 years ago. After the Super Bowl in 2022, entering 2023, I didn't think they were as good of a team or as great of a team as they were in that Super Bowl. That's the way I view it. 215-592-9494. Are you bracing yourself for a reset year with the Philadelphia Eagles? I am. And again, that doesn't mean I'm sitting here saying they're going to win 6 games. No, they have a core and a baseline that we should expect 9 or 10 wins every year. Like, there's no bad years unless there's major injury. That should never be a part of our conversation. They have too many good players. But if they were a 14-win team with a Super Bowl last year, that's different than what I'm viewing right now based on what they have. Let's hear Elliot this morning. He used the term reset at Byrdstown Hall. He used it this morning when he was in for John. And I'm driving in, and I'm hearing him say this, and I'm like, you know what? And you never want to say this out loud, but Elliot's got a point on this. Here's Elliot this morning on The Morning Show.
You use the word reset with Howie in the cap. What are you talking about here?
I think the Eagles are being smart in how they're attacking this free agency, and I want them to think more about 2026 and 2027 than I do 2025. I don't want them to make the same mistakes they did in 2018 when they got old quickly. They were desperate to try to get back to the Super Bowl, win it right away, and ended up hurting them for a few years, in my opinion. They got old quickly. I want the young players to play next year. I don't want them to go out and sign a bunch of stopgap veterans. I'm happy they didn't match some of the contracts that they got. The Super Bowl in 2025 would be nice, but it's not my priority this offseason.
So what he said there, ultimately, Hugh, I think he's right about how the Eagles are prioritizing this. And ultimately, it's probably going to lead them back to a Super Bowl way quicker than it went from last time, because they won it in 2017. They didn't get back for 5 years. I think they're going to get back to a Super Bowl quicker than that. I think this is going to ultimately go their way because they're going to reset this thing. But I'm bracing for a reset. I just don't view this team today as strong as they were a couple days ago. And based on who they've signed, I'm not now anticipating they're going to go out there and do something big. Now, if they did something big, maybe that I changed my mind on what I view the team as. But I don't know, Hugh. I don't know where you come down on this. I don't think they're poised to now go make a huge trade and do something big. I think they're going to take the young guys in and play with the young guys.
Yeah, and that's what that has been the plan all along. And you have your resources allocated to the side of the ball that you feel is going to carry you. I know it's a hard vision for people to see, but it's one of those things where this is what they've been trying to do all along. You locked up your skilled players. You've put yourself in a situation where on paper, I'll say that on paper, you are stronger than any defense in the NFC that you're going to face directly. What I mean by that is the NFC East. You have more personnel on one side of the ball on your offense that most teams in your division don't have enough personnel to match up with favorably. They just don't. And that's how you win football games. Is my guy better than your guy? And that's how you have to look at it, Joe, offensively, just strictly looking at the offense. And I know that last year in that small sampling size, a lot of people will say, oh, they didn't live up to their expectations.
Well, they didn't.
But I will say this. Towards the end of the year, they started playing better football.
Well, the last 2 games, they were incredible. Yep.
And they're going to try to follow that template into the next season and be that offense that they thought that they were going to be at the beginning of last year.
Mm-hmm. No, and if they are, then perhaps they'll be better than I think right now. 215-592-9494. I've come to grips with it. You guys have beaten me down this week, telling me these players that left aren't that good when we know they are. And I woke up this morning and I heard Elliot, and it kind of just washed over me like, you know what? It's a reset year. I've accepted it. I've come to grips with it. I'm not crashing out today. I'm very peaceful, very calm on a Friday. Kyle, I'm sure the peaceful and calm are not words you use or embody very often. Mm-mm. Have you come to grips? Are you accepting that this is going to be a reset year?
So you say I'm in denial, all you want.
Are you bracing yourself?
No. No. I'm not ready to go there yet. I'm going to use a term that might make you crash out.
Oh, no.
I think this is where we need to have a little bit of patience. It is early in the offseason. Yes, I'm not
on WIP.
I'm not ready to do a reset year when the offseason isn't fully complete. I don't know what the full picture of the team is going to look like. By the way, I understand that we lost some key pieces and pretty good players. I'm not going to go there.
Thank you.
Right?
At least you said
yes, I'm not going to do the whole these guys weren't that good, whatever. I understand they were pretty good players. But all of the best players that we have on defense and on offense are still here. Mm-hmm. The Eagles are still a very good roster. So I'm not ready to go reset just yet. Also because when I look around the rest of the league and what everybody else did this offseason, nobody in the NFC has done anything this offseason to make me go like, wow. Like they've just catapulted themselves definitively to the top of the list. The Commanders added some players, but Debo's fat and cooked. Laramie Tunsil, he's okay, but at the end of the day, he's just an offensive lineman, right? They didn't add Myles Garrett. They didn't go get another star wide receiver to go pair with Terry McLaurin. And the Lions just lost both coordinators. And they're losing players too. So the
teams that got better in the NFC were actually kind of like the underbelly got better.
Right.
Yeah, not the top
teams. Right.
Yeah.
So and I don't know what the Vikings are going to be. The Packers could take a little bit of a step up too, but and I don't know what the Rams are going to look like, but again, nobody is really sticking out to me to where it's like, oh wow, they definitely in my eyes just got better than the Eagles. So I think the Eagles still have a very good chance to be one of the top teams in the NFC. So as of right now, before the draft and everything and the rest of the offseason, could still be a trade coming. I'm not ready to go reset just yet.
All right, so Kyle's in denial. 215, he's right about that stuff, but he's in denial. 215-592-9494. That's how you hop in. Are you bracing yourself for a reset year with the Eagles? Elliot said it this morning. And again, from a big picture standpoint, from a long-term thing, I understand what the Eagles are doing. They're trying to make sure they're good for the next 5 years, not so much pushing all their chips into right now. I just have to accept that because there's some years where they push all in, right?
Yeah.
When you go get Javon Curse and T.O., when you go get Saquon Barkley, when you go get A.J. Brown, those are the years it feels like they're trying to
get over the hump.
Yeah, they're trying to really push in. And this year is the opposite of that. They're letting good players go because the salary cap situation and the future. It doesn't mean they're going to be bad. It's a different kind of Eagles offseason, it looks like.
Well, it's the evolution of what you need to be in the Super Bowl or to get to the Super Bowl. Last year, nobody can deny this team was led by their defense.
Yep.
I don't think that was the plan that they wanted. The offense, look at it like this, people, and I'm trying to help all the fans out that are going through it right now. New offensive coordinator last year. This team got off to a sputtering start initially. But as they progressed through the season, late in the season, they became the offense that we thought they were going to be early on. Now, look at the offseason moves they made. They hired from within, trying to keep some of that continuity, some of that structure as far as the offensive philosophy is concerned. So they're looking at it from a standpoint, I'm assuming, that, okay, we add a few more pieces for our quarterback because he's coming to his own a little bit. There was a lot of angst about Jalen early on about what he was doing, this, that, and the third. But in those last couple games, he looked like he was in control. He wasn't holding the ball a whole lot. He was making better decisions. He looked more comfortable, if you will.
It was the best version of him.
Yeah, he looked more comfortable, if you will. So now the decisions that I made in the offseason thus far leads me to believe that, number one, my quarterback is in a better position. He's more comfortable because for him, he has more structure. He has more consistency, if you will, with, hiring from within and having a coordinator that he's familiar with. And now you add another piece, and A.J. Dillon, not knowing what he brings to the table, but trying to take a little bit of pressure off of Saquon. You're still going to run the ball, but now you have to incorporate the passing game into that. So, yeah, I think they're in a good spot as far as that's concerned. And now we can have the offense and the team that we were supposed to have last year and go win another Super Bowl.
215-592-9494. You brace yourself for an Eagles reset. I mean, the first week of free agency has been pretty clear what the plan is, at least the way I view it. They let a lot of good players go. They're making sure they prioritize the cap room for the future years, which I get. I mean, they have Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and Quinyon and Cooper, all those guys, they got to get paid in the next couple of years. And the guys they brought in, and I think Hugh used the word earlier, they're guys, right? They're just, there's nothing wrong with them. One or two might make the team and help, but they didn't sign anyone this week that's like, wow. And they're kind of filling spots here on the team.
The Joes, not again, the Jimmies and the Joes.
Right, the Jimmies and the Joes. So the way I view it is the Eagles are resetting. They're resetting their roster, they're resetting their salary cap situation, and they're prioritizing, as Elliot said this morning, more 2027 2026 rather than 2025. And so I could yell about it for 4 days. I did that. I'm done with that now. And now I'm just accepting it. Are you bracing yourself for an Eagles reset?